and other stuff. It was, to imagine that kind of, just do quick research and investigation about it all, but that kind of, being on a ride, it's like you can feel the airplane going up and up and up, getting free of gravity, or something, and that mania that was driving you to, you're a pure animal, I think, and you're looking to deflect and deny and, delude people, and but it's all coming without any objective awareness. It's just like modality that is your adrenaline high, and I think that kind of, some of that felt like it was propulsive in the scenes, so it wasn't invigorating.
Yeah, well, that raises another question for me, which is, both times I watched this, I was sort of trying to figure out at certain points, like, did this guy even know he was lying sometimes? Like, there are parts where I feel like he's almost convinced himself of what he's saying, or at least convinced himself that he's not doing anything wrong. I mean, was that your perception of it? Or in terms of the way you played it? I don't know if that's what your guy was like, but in terms of the way you saw it?
Yeah, I think that you realize that he, especially when they go to, when he's trapped, and he would have these things like, yeah, okay, I shouldn't have done that, and then you realize he's only agreeing to a small wedge of what he's been doing, but he made it look like that was entirely only possible to have robbed all those people because of my drug addiction. You realize there was other things too. But it's an overused term, narcissist. But everybody's a narcissist. That's true. But that the sense of self-preservation, it's not a useful term in a way because it's too general. There's all these different subcategories of it and everything, and I think you don't ever, I did have a conversation with Greg Beeman before we started, which was really, sometimes you get these, it's a match, you have to, be married to this person no matter what. You get one conversation with them if you want to do it, you want to like what he says, and he wants to like what you say. But he was a pretty straight shooter, and so I said, what do you think? Did Alec love his wife and love his son? And he said, oh, absolutely. And I thought, that's the paradox, if you can hold two opposite ideas, and how can that happen? And that's what our investigation is.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting too, just the way you play the lies, basically, because he becomes, especially over the course of part two, like as the world closes in on him, he kind of becomes a less convincing liar. And you were saying that part of this was figuring out like how to play this guy who other people didn't see this in. And I think it's a really interesting line you walk where he's constantly lying, but in some places you kind of, and I don't know if this is the way you play it or if it's the way Beeman is shooting it, what he's using cut to, but you are kind of, without giving it away, letting the audience know that this guy is lying, even though he's lying convincingly to the people around him. And it's this really tricky balance. I mean, is that something that's sort of intuitive for you, or is it something you have to think about how to calibrate?
Yeah, that's a good point, Jim. I don't ever remember us saying dial it up or dial it down, which I do a lot in other circumstances, when you're masking something. But it was so, it felt like it was best not to really have any tells. There was no obligation to, because it was, didn't want it to be so, it's like swarming. That was part of what I wanted. The longer, eventually it all cascades, and everyone said, this guy's no, he's not a good guy. But I would try to suspend, you know, that judgment of audiences, you know, as long as possible, you know, so that you are, you know, there is that way where a lot of the people that he was, his clients, you know, that injuries, and he would get money for them, and usually they got some money that they never would have had if he hadn't been successful in his pursuit. So, you know, was probably his thinking, and my thinking.
And I'm curious too if there's like fun for you in playing against expectations, because I think a lot of people, they think of you in some of, you know, your nice guy roles and stuff like Accidental Tourist, or, you know, or Independence Day, or, you know, either heroic or a nice guy. And I always enjoy when you go dark. I always enjoy like Lost Highway, you know, it's a great movie, a great Bill Pullman performance, or here. And I'm wondering if like there's a sort of added a little bit of kind of glee knowing that you're playing against people's assumptions about your expectations.
Yeah, you know, and I've been lucky to have the Lynches, the David Lynch, you know, as in Lost Highway, and then I did Jennifer Lynch, his daughter, did a movie that David produced called Surveillance, and they seemed to like me being bad. And they were both interesting movies that I remember, because you know, Lost Highway was pretty close to when Independence Day was going out. And we were doing press in Europe and in America, you know, and in America, they liked Independence Day. They didn't like Lost Highway, you know, people and different festivals and that. But in Europe, they liked Lost Highway and they hated Independence Day. Especially the Brits, you know, they get a Thank God for the Americans. Some of that stuff didn't really do well. But the Lynches are good, and then this other one, Surveillance, Jennifer Lynch is, you know, amazing director, and he's done a lot of things, but that was a nasty little turn. Because, you know, you think they're just troopers, you know, and then, no.
Well, you know, I guess to sort of wrap things up, I'm curious. I was thinking about, knowing I was going to be talking to you, I was thinking about you worked with such a broad array of interesting directors. I mean, you know, David Lynch and Florence Kasdan, and, you know, then you go like somebody like Rowan Emmerich and, you know, Nora Ephron, you know, Penny Marshall, all great directors, all very, very different. And I'm curious for you, is there a commonality in terms of like the kind of director that helps facilitate your best work, or are they all different, and is that part of the fun of it?
Yeah, they're all different, you know. It is great to know, to feel, you know, I did some of these equalizers with Anton Fuqua, you know, and I really, really loved his type of move making, and, you know, completely comfortable without a lot of talking, you know, but very specific things, you know. So, yeah, there's definitely, I feel like I've been really lucky to have worked with a lot of directors who are always surprising me, and, you know, so, yeah.
Well, I think it's kind of cool that you've had, you know, again, this kind of career you've had. I was thinking about this too. You coming here, you know, you're probably unaware, here at the American Cinematheque, you know, you're kind of Cinematheque royalty because you're in certain movies that we show here all the time, like Lost Highway, like Spaceballs, Sleepless in Seattle, you know, Ruthless People is shown here. And I think the cool thing about your career is that no matter what genre somebody loves, there's a great Bill Pullman movie in it. It's like if you like horror movies, you got Serpent in the Rainbow. If you like rom-coms, you got While You Were Sleeping. If you like sci-fi, Independence Day. And I think, you know, it's great to see you kind of still like just doing great work, and like this was for me one of your best performances yet. So I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and talk to me about it. So
yeah, I'm kind of like the Denny's. You can get them in. You want breakfast? There's sandwich, grilled cheeseburger. But I do gotta say that I'm very thankful to be have this movie be looked at and everything, because there's definitely a lot of production out there. But you know, it's like you get a certain kind of pitch and you can hear the bat hit it and it cracks. And I felt like, oh, this was a movie like that in terms of the characterization.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. So thanks so much, Bill.
Thanks all for coming.